I worked in newsrooms for about a decade, from coast to coast. I started out in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I worked in Portland, Oregon, Atlanta, Georgia, and I finished my newsroom career at WLOS here in Asheville as the assistant chief photojournalist. And I want to share with you guys a story I did while I was at WLOS with John Lee, who'll be speaking here afterwards. Our assignment was to go cover a new science curriculum at an elementary school, and we came back with The Sound of Life.
It's a sound wave.
They say you can't always believe what you hear in school.
How do you think the sound goes from here to your ears?
In this case, you have to listen closely. We first went to West Buncombe Elementary to see second graders raise ruckus in the name of science.
Start the sound wave.
But during our shoot,
icy cold milk, it comes out.
someone compelling popped up.
Recreates sound.
That's Garen shaking up our story.
It creates vibrations in your throat, which turns into sound waves. And you know what we call those sound waves?
What?
Wiggles. We call them wiggles.
But just when we thought he was there for comic relief, everything changed the moment we asked Garen Greiner what his least favorite sound was, which led to the soundbite we never expected.
The sound of somebody screaming.
And it only took a brief burst of audio
She has chemo.
to lead us to the visual we will never forget.
To get you preoccupied, get your mind off of it.
This is what the fight against cancer sounds like.
Okay, do you want to take the hat off?
My little sister Jordan, she's in the hospital.
Just 5 years old,
Do you want to wait for your lunch?
facing leukemia. Mom Lisa fearing the worst.
It's as though she's given up. And so each day I get up with a different, I pray for a different frame of mind.
Listening for whispers of hope.
You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Deep breath, you can do it.
We met them at Chapel Hill at the Ronald McDonald House, together on an island.
My children have pretty bald heads.
My head's cold.
That's Jordy and Garen when she was 3 years old, first diagnosed before she started losing hair. He is right there with her, trying to make her laugh, and even though he's scared.
That spark of humor is Garen's gift and a source of strength for the whole family.
My dad calls people a really strong beefcake.
All right.
Hi, beefcake.
Now hours apart from Jordan, wishing she were there when he gets off the school bus.
And she just screamed Gary, and it just made me feel really special that she loved me.
Sometimes he squeezes me to death when he hugs.
Garen would give anything for a life supply of hugs.
I donated my bone marrow, and why I did it is because I love my sister.
But even a 100% match is no guarantee.
You're just standing up, and the rug just yanked out from underneath you.
Do you feel like moving yet?
The leukemia returned just as she started kindergarten. Jordy recently received her second bone marrow transplant, this time from someone outside the family.
And she just stays upset because she's tired of hurting.
So often, snuggled up in bed,
Season 2.
watching episodes of Full House, longing for the family she sees on TV.
Everybody being together in one house. She lives for that. Lives for that.
Thoughts of Garen bring them closer to home.
I love you all the way around the universe and back.
She said she loves him all the way around the universe and back. Lisa, of course, longs for her son too.
I want to get home as fast as I can. And I love you.
She's a mother torn in so many directions. The roadmap to recovery leaves her lost.
That's all.
Lisa struggles like so many moms in the same position, filled with so much emotion, she can only drop her head.
I'm not surprised that he was the boy that you talked to in that classroom. He gets everybody's attention. And
Let's go back to your tables real quick.
Remember, Garen first caught our eyes and ears by touching our hearts in the middle of a lesson about sound. So much more poignant
Yes.
when we heard this.
I wanted to make the sound of her laughing and saying my name.
He'd go to the end of the earth for Jordy,
long ride for him.
226 miles at a time to Chapel Hill.
Gary! Hey! Bazinga.
What more do you say?
I said bazinga.
Her prescription for a bear hug finally filled.
It's been a hard day for her health-wise, so she needed this big time.
Maybe a smile transplant will make all the difference.
What's up, fishy? What's up?
This story began with Garen's study of sound waves. In the worst of times, even everyday racket becomes music to our ears. And when this is your window to the world, it sure means a lot to see Garen on the other side.
They will forever have a bond. Forever, his cells will run through her body. Forever and ever.
That line about longing for the family she sees on TV, that was a fire line, Johnny. So of course, we can't do 5-minute features every day, I know that, but the takeaway here is to go into your stories with an open mind. Like I said, our assignment was to cover a new curriculum, this sound curriculum at this elementary school. But while interviewing Garen, we heard that soundbite and we knew our story was about to take a turn. Be a human being. Just because you pick up a microphone or a camera doesn't mean you need to turn into a different person. You don't need to play reporter or play photographer. Be a human being, and you never know what you're going to get. So I've always been passionate about this business, and that's because I spend 40, 50 hours a week with it every week. And if you spend 40 or 50 hours a week with anything and you're not passionate about it, your life's not going to be that great. So in addition to doing these workshops, I've also created the Sound of Life Storytelling Agency. And this is a with a bit of a niche approach in that I'm only interested in journalists also passionate about visual storytelling and making memorable TV and keeping us relevant. So again, it's a traditional agency with a few differences in that I offer a weekly critique. I offer a little bit of funding for workshops and awards, free entry to any event I do, of course, resume and demo reel creation, and most importantly, the job hunt. So far, I've got a really awesome team. You're looking at a bunch of journalists right there that truly care about the future of our business, and I truly believe in all of them, and I'm honored to work with all of them. I'd like to introduce you guys to Summer Dash, who was just promoted from weekend morning anchor to main evening anchor at WPDE in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Clay Lepard, who he's just wrapping up his reporter MMJ gig in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and are we saying where you're heading?
I don't know. Can we say where it is? I don't know.
He's heading to
we can't say that it's where Mickey Mouse calls home. We can't say it's there, right?
A top 20 market involving Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, we can't say that.
Okay, so I'm going to let you guys meet them.
Which one did you want to
You lead
Am
first.
I going first?
You lead
Okay.
first, absolutely.
Hi, guys. I don't want to fall because ladies, have you ever done this? I don't have my little strap, so it is on my high heel today. So I think John wanted me to talk a little bit about what I saw in his agency in terms of training. And I think I'll start out, and I know John's heard this story before, but it's kind of one of my favorite stories because this was sort of the light bulb moment for me where I was like, that's my dude. I was looking at getting an agent. I wasn't really sure if I wanted one or not. I was sort of like, nah, people say you need one, people say you don't, it doesn't really matter. So I figured if the right one came along, I'd be like, all right, cool, I'll give it a shot. I had talked to some of those big snazzy agencies out of LA, and I thought, ooh, cool, that sounds flashy. Well, I remember talking to one of those agents, and he said to me on the phone, he goes, well, I think you're great, and I'm gonna make you a star. And I was like, okay, give me a minute. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. I was like, you wanna make me a star? I would have been an actress if I wanted that. I just wanna be a really good journalist. And I felt like I'd worked really hard to build a reputation of someone who was really hardworking and who really liked MMJing. And I felt like that was sort of cheapening that, and it kind of, that's offensive. Not to take myself too seriously, but that really wasn't the reputation I wanted to be selling for myself. If this person was taking charge of my career, I wanted to make sure that they were telling news directors how I was, not that I wanted to be a star. That was gross. So I did not sign with that agency. Several months later, John called me, and one of the first sentences out of his mouth was, "I want to make you a great storyteller." And I was like, cool. So that's kind of the moment I knew that that was sort of where I belonged. And he's been awesome. I was the weekend morning anchor, and then I MMJ'd 3 days a week. So I send him a story once a week, and he'll send me back a critique. One of the issues I was having, and I knew I was having, you know, that really spoke to me earlier, the hourglass thing, because it was like, that's totally me right now. I feel like I'm in that gap. I'm like, God, nothing is quite that good that I do, but I want it to be really good. And one of the big issues I was having was audio. I sort of flashed John some eyes when we were talking about headphones, because I was bad at that. I didn't use headphones. Now I use headphones every time. But I wasn't doing that. And those are the things that he's really helped me with. And even in terms of writing, John comes from a photography background, but he's really great at saying, hey, you know what? That one sentence wasn't that great. You could have done better with this, or ended it here, or ended it there. And that's really helped me, if nothing else, take a much closer look at my own work every single day, so I don't get lazy. You know, you all have those MMJ days where you're like, oh my God, it's 103 degrees outside, it's so humid, my camera equipment's so heavy, and this interview is so boring. And it's made me, in those moments, really get passionate rather than lazy. And so if nothing else, that's awesome, and he's been great about helping me get through that gap that Ira was saying in that quote earlier. So that's my story. If that sounds like the kind of agency you want, John's over there. Otherwise, those people are still in LA, and I think they need someone.
You just touched on a good chunk of everything I was saying. I will keep this short, because I know that I am the one that is holding you from lunch right now. I'm aware of that. I also hated agents. I met with them. I didn't like them. John gets it. You guys get it. That's why you're here in the room. You understand that the future of this business is not going to be you and I standing in front of a camera, holding a stick microphone, and saying what's going on behind us. That's just not the way that viewers are going to stick around, point blank. And John gets that. He knows this industry. He knows those days when you're out and about. He knows the day where your batteries have died, and for whatever reason, the backup pair you have just magically disappeared. He gets that, and he gets ways to make you a better reporter. And it reflects that in the reel. It reflects that in the way that you're sold to stations. He's not going to sell you to a run-and-gun station where you're going to turn 4 packages a day and go live 4, 5, 6, 7. And if there's any other newscasts, I apologize for you if you work at one of those stations. But yeah, I've only been with him for 2.5 months. John would say it's been only 2.5 months, but felt longer, and already has moved on. So I say thank you for that. Yep. Appreciate that a lot. My wife does as well. She works behind the scenes in sports television and understands that when you have things going on, you can't just go anywhere you want in the country. There's certain things you have to do to make it happen, and that's a reality of this business a lot of us have to deal with. But John helps out with that. So on behalf of me and my wife, thank you for that. Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
Thank you, guys. Careful, good job. I know. Again, I'm truly proud to work with these two awesome journalists. Don't forget to turn your mics off.
Hold on, it's getting there. It's still on my shoe. I got to get it off.
And there's some more members of the Sound of Life team. If you could stand up. What's up, y'all? I'm proud to work with all you guys as well. So if you're interested in getting involved or hearing a little more, I'll be around obviously all weekend. Or if we don't get a chance to talk, soundoflifemedia.com, you can fill out the contact form, or just shoot me a direct email. So that's Sound of Life Media.